Welcome back to Restoring La Chartreuse. We're Remy and Hugo, and together with our cat Phoebe, we've been slowly breathing life back into this historic townhouse in the southwest of France. Last time, we finished off our salvaged window greenhouse with a fresh lick of paint, just in time for the warmer weather to coax our seedlings to life. We also tackled the dusty job of packing mounds of wood fibre insulation into the sloping attic. This week, we're pushing on in the garden and giving our old warped gate a much needed new lease of life. But first, it's back up into that dusty attic. So we've made some decent progress in the attic since the last video, as you can see from behind me. And from the last video, if you remember correctly, we basically managed to get to a stage where we'd had the double insulation done on one side. We still have the opposite end, which is behind the camera right now, which is completely not done, but it's where the rest of the insulation is being stored, so we can't tackle that until we finish this side. But since the last video, we've been continuing to work on it slowly after work and during the weekends, and we've been fortunately helped by our neighbor and friend Fred, who is a recurring character in some of these videos, and some of you might recognize him. So since the last video, what we're trying to do is focus on this little corner here to get everything to the stage before we mount the plasterboard, just to make sure everything is correct with the supports that we put in, the double insulation, to make sure we haven't made any mistakes before we continue on, and just learn from the process before we continue on to the other areas in the attic. And so what we've done is we finished the double insulation, so we have the insulation in between the beams, and we have another layer of wood insulation over the top of that, and then we have this breathable membrane which we put over the top. That was a bit of a nightmare to put in, basically because you have to make sure that there is no holes or anything in it. Everything has to be sealed. You also have to put this kind of silicone jointing into any of the faces where it touches the wood, so it is a really very slow process. You also have to tape over all of the seams for the membrane. So again, very slow and annoying process to do, but fortunately we got there. And then what we finally managed to do is put in the railings and the corner brackets for the plasterboard. And so again, I'll highlight, in France, for plasterboard and internal walls, you normally use metal railings. It is very common in the US, the UK to use wood, but in France it is very common, and it's basically the standard way to do things. So we've got to a point where we're pretty happy with this. We still got some railings to put on the right hand side, but it's looking really good. And to be honest, putting in the membrane was a bit of a nightmare, but now it's made everything look so much cleaner, and we can really visualize the space. And honestly, it looks a lot bigger. You can really notice the height in the space, and it's exciting for us because we can see, okay, this potentially could be a really awesome space in the future in our bedroom. So we're excited, although there is still a lot of work to do. I was reading some of the comments on the last videos, and people were saying, oh wow, it's amazing, you've almost done, you know, the attic insulation. And unfortunately, I want to say that we still have a ton of work to do. You know, we calculated yesterday, just off the back of a napkin calculations, to do one of these corners with 2 people is roughly 4 days solid work. And you know, Romy and I, we work as well. It's gonna take a long time to get this space to something that is livable. So just bear with us while we get this. We are slow, we're getting there, we're doing it, but it will take a little bit more time than potentially you guys are hoping. C'est bon pour toi, Fred?
Si contre la poutre, je sais pas Hugo, là, j'allais aucune. Ah bah, par ça, il va falloir.
Oula.
Voilà, je veux pas le cramer. pour toi? Vas-y, mais alors mets-le. C'était 37, c'est pour toi, alors c'est pour toi aussi, hein, 37.
So for the last couple of days, Fred and I have made some progress on the attic, but unfortunately not as much as we'd hoped. As with all of these things, it always takes way longer than expected, but we are making progress and we have figured out a way to work together, which is a little bit quicker. So hopefully the next stage gets a little bit quicker. Having spent most of my waking hours up in the attic over the last few days, it's been an absolute lifesaver having our Reolink Wi-Fi floodlight camera on the front of the house, who are the sponsors of today's video. And as I say, it's been an absolute lifesaver for us because Fred and I have been working up here in this attic, which has actually no view over the back garden and the front garden. Although it has the windows, it's actually very difficult to view into either of those things. And having that camera on the front, which is synced to my phone and it has the motion detection built in, has been an absolute lifesaver because I can see right on my phone 4K what's happening at the front if I get those notifications. Normally it's just Phoebe moving around or I get a delivery, but it is just super useful for me so that I don't have to go down and work out, okay, what's that sound? Do I need to check this out? It gives me a real peace of mind, and the detail on the application and the camera is fantastic. You can see everything in the frame very clearly with our 180-degree vision, and all of the motion detection objects are highlighted by a color coordinated box, so it's very easy to see what's triggered the camera movement. And our favorite thing about the camera is it has this built-in light, which is temperature configurable. So we've got it as a nice warm yellow, which welcomes us home in the evening. So if you're interested in the Reolink Wi-Fi floodlight camera, the link is in the description and the pinned comment. And also you can scan this QR code on the screen now to go to Reolink and get our unique discount code. And thank you very much for Reolink for sponsoring this video and helping creators like us grow.
Today we're going to be doing something quite exciting, or at least something lots of people have asked us to do for a long time. We're going to be repainting this gate. We've had so many comments of people being like, garden is lovely, but what's up with this? And it does look pretty horrible. To be fair, it just hasn't been a big priority, and also we hesitated for a long time whether we should replace it or just live with it. We really want to replace it at some point because it opens inwards, which is not very practical, because this is actually a really nice shaded spot of the garden where I would love to have like nice seats to enjoy the beds and the view of the house. But realistically, we don't have the time or money right now to completely change this gate. So we're gonna have to live with it, but it doesn't mean we have to live with it in its current state. So my plan is to repaint it. I've already chosen the color and I think you will like it. I did a poll on Instagram and there were loads of opinions, but we've got quite a lot of work before we can actually get to painting. So first of all, we need to take all of this to the tip, which is always fun. And then I'm going to power wash the gate because there's lots of moss and flaky paint, and try to remove as much as possible. And then we're going to have to sand it down, scrape everything, remove as much of the rust as possible. And then I'm going to apply an anti-rust solution to make sure it doesn't degrade much more, and then we'll paint. And so I can't wait to see what it looks like. So let's get to it. just finished scraping the gate. As per usual, I completely underestimated the amount of work. So this took me 2 days instead of 1 afternoon I planned for it, but that's okay. To be fair, it was quite satisfying, although it was super messy and really, really dusty. But I'm glad it's done. And now that it's done, I can actually see that the gate, it is quite damaged, but we'll have to work with it. I just wanted to touch on the product I'm going to apply now, which is an anti-rust. I wanted to call it out because it's going to be see-through, so it's not going to be a massive transformation. But this is a product we applied on the front gate as well, and it worked really well. You can apply it directly onto rust, which is good because with a gate like this, you try to scrape as much rust as possible. There are some bits where it's just too damaged. So this is a good treatment. It doesn't mean the gate will last forever, but it should definitely last a couple more years, which is what we're hoping to get from it. So yeah, we're just going to do 1 coat of that and let it dry, and then maybe tomorrow or the day after that we can do the first coat.
It ruins his whole plan. This, the killing of his old friend and Archbishop now, or former Archbishop now because he's dead, ruins his plans to take power in the way that he had. Like, this is what ends his plan. So he would never have done that knowingly.
He is just too smart, and he would know that this was going to happen. But on the other hand,
So we're down in the cab because I want to organize this space a little bit better for our tools and my woodworking. Right now the cab is an absolute mess. We kind of just bung all of our tools and stuff down here, and so it gets super disorganized, and sometimes I find that it takes us a long time to find stuff, and trying to get up to speed with some of the projects, it just takes forever. So I'm going to spend the next couple of days or whenever I have free times to kind of try and improve the space a little bit, and I'm going to start with the mitre station, which is going to be a quick area where I'm going to have some cabinets, which is going to have some organization for some of the tools that we have, and also it's going to have a quick cut station for long pieces of wood that we often need to cut for the house and for the woodworking projects. So you might remember a couple of videos back when we insulated the cab here, we made this wall behind me right now, and the idea is that we want to put the quick cut or mitre cut station here here. So I'm going to put some cabinets alongside this wall, and in the middle we're going to have a mitre saw. And so I've spent the last couple of days in free time trying to level the floor here, because the cab floor or the basement floor is just absolutely not leveled at all. So I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to level the floor in order to put the cabinets on. In order to save time, I actually bought some of those cabinets from Leroy Merlin, which is a big box store equivalent here in France. And unfortunately, I did that because I thought it was going to save me time and money. And that just proved completely incorrect, because the first time I built one of the carcasses, it was so flimsy that I had to reinforce it, and it just took me basically the same amount of time it would have taken me to build it from scratch from plywood. So learnings there, I guess, but yeah, it was a bit of a waste of time buying that from Leroy Merlin. I should have just made it from scratch. So what I want to do is try and make the rest of the cabinets and then put them in today, and we're going to try and get to a stage where I've got the mitre station installed, but it's not kind of finished. I need to put drawers and doors and stuff in. And in future, what I'll try and do is make the station look a little bit nicer, putting a face frame on, painting it, putting the drawer fronts on, so that it has a little bit of the same style as the kitchen, but maybe a different color, maybe a little bit of a lighter color, so that it's a nicer looking space and it's going to be a bit more organized, because now, right now, it is a nightmare. You want to cut something then?
Yeah, let's cut something.
There you go. Because now we have this amazing table. Look at that. Beautiful.
Wow.
Oh, gosh.
Really cool. Well done, it's nice.
Very cool.
Wire management and everything.
Oh yeah, my stuff is lovely. Look at that.
So now that we have this really beautiful greenhouse, it's time to start some seedlings. So this year I want to challenge myself a little bit and grow some vegetables. So if you don't know, in the past I've grown mainly cut flowers, and it's still what I really love growing. But I think these beds need a few vegetables because we've got good weather for that, and it's obviously lovely to be able to eat vegetables that you've grown yourself. So today I'm going to start sowing some of these vegetables, mainly tomatoes, because I think they would do well in the greenhouse to start. So I've got quite a few different varieties of tomatoes here. With the tomatoes, I want to plant some basil. We use a lot of basil. Hugo makes a lot of different pestos, so we need a lot of basil plants. So with these vegetables, I want to grow sunflowers with them, mainly to attract pollinators, but also so it looks a bit pretty. So with the tomatoes, we're going to have some borage, or borage, I don't know how you say it in English, and as well some nasturtiums. And I've got some trailing ones, which I think will look quite nice over the side of the beds. In terms of vegetables today, the only other one that we're going to be sowing will be kale. We eat a lot of kale, so that will be nice in the shady bed at the back. And I did say I would grow more vegetables, but all of these will be flowers. So it's a first batch of flowers. We've got loads of different cosmos, because why not? The nasturtiums, as I said, I've got some more scabiosa, which I've already sown a few, and some sunflower. I've got zinnias and lots of different things I want to grow, but I'm going to try to be a bit better this year and try to do it in batches, so I don't have all the seedlings that need to go in the ground at the same time, and then also not to have like all the seedlings stop flowering. So I've already sown a couple of things already, and they're looking pretty good. So these are the sweet peas, which are probably the best sweet peas I've ever grown, to be honest. So I think they're going to go in the beds this weekend, and they're doing pretty well. I've also grown some snapdragons and then some scabiosa as well. So these are plants that are meant to do okay with coldish weather, even though it's been 20 degrees here, to be honest, for March, which is pretty crazy. But hopefully that means I could plant them pretty soon and I can free some space in the greenhouse. It's been quite fun to be able to actually use this project. I'm super happy with it. So yeah, these are going to stay here for a couple of more days, and once the other ones have sprouted, I think we'll do a rotation, plant these in the ground, and then keep the other seedlings in the greenhouse.